Once again, good afternoon and welcome to LinkedIn Basics. Today's class will be hosted by Jamie and Nikki with the Plano Public Library. Before we begin, I do need to let you know about some ground rules that we've set up for today's program. You will be muted during this class and we have your video blocked. You will only see the instructor's screen. At the top of your screen, you can find an exit full screen option if you need to get to other things on your computer, including LinkedIn. You are welcome to ask questions during today's program. You should see an icon at the bottom of your screen that says chat. Click on that to open the chat window. Chat is set to be seen by library staff only. Please note that any inappropriate comments will cause your immediate removal from the class. Now, in regards to those questions, we may answer you in the chat box. We might hold the question until a break or the end of the program, or we might go ahead and ask the question at the time if it is pressing. In the reminder email for this class, there is a link for the course handout with additional information, which we will also share in the chat. A recording of this class will also be sent out in a few days. If you would like to watch today's class and then practice after getting the recording, that is also an option. If you would like to follow along with your own LinkedIn account, you may, but please do keep in mind that it will be difficult to give one-on-one assistance or troubleshoot during today's class. We will, however, try to take it slow in case you are practicing along with the instructor. Good afternoon. My name is Jamie, and as we get started today, I do need to remind you that I'm a librarian and not a business expert. The information I'm sharing with you today is designed to be an overview and to help connect you with additional resources that may be helpful in your job search. The goal for today's class is to get to know the basic features of LinkedIn. We'll be covering some of the basics on how to set up your profile, navigating the website, and connecting with other users. In the remaining classes in this series, we'll also cover how to use your profile to build a resume, how to search for jobs with LinkedIn, and how to build your skills with LinkedIn Learning. So let's start with a basic question. What is LinkedIn? It's a professional social networking site used to stay in touch with your colleagues and professional acquaintances. Most people use LinkedIn to stay in touch, to expand their professional network, and to explore new career opportunities. LinkedIn is also a great way to host an online resume. In fact, many job applications include the ability to use your LinkedIn profile to complete that application. Keep in mind, LinkedIn does not cover all types of careers. Generally, you'll find that most users have some sort of professional degree or certification, and many of the positions posted will also be salaried positions. You won't find many jobs related to food service, construction, or temp work, although exceptions do exist. To use LinkedIn, you'll need to set up an account. A free account gives you access to many features, including building a profile and posting documents, building your network of contacts, giving and receiving recommendations, interacting with companies and groups, and applying for jobs. Additional features are available with a paid premium account, but today's class won't cover those. I will be using my LinkedIn account to demonstrate today. So to set up your own account, you'll need to provide a name, email address, and password. And this will take you to the profile wizard, a series of guided steps to set up the basics of your account. I'm going to go ahead and switch our view over to LinkedIn so that we can see what LinkedIn looks like. So if you are an existing user, you would click this sign in button here in the top right corner, or if you were setting up a new account, you would click join now and set up that profile wizard. And you could choose to set up with an email and password or join with your Google account. Let me go ahead and sign into my account here. When you sign into LinkedIn, you are automatically directed to your homepage and activity feed. So let's take a few minutes to talk about the different features that you'll find on this page and how to navigate the platform. At the very top of your screen, you're going to see your menu bar with different icons. The first thing we come across, starting from the left, is our search bar, which is where you can search content on LinkedIn, including people, jobs, and posts. Works just like a typical search engine. You can type in keywords, phrases, names into that search bar. Then you'll see your home button, which will return you to your home page at any time. Now, if you happen to see a red dot in the corner of the roof, all that means is that something new has been posted on your homepage since the last time that you were on that page. Next, we have the My Network button, and you can use that to search for new connections or manage those connections you already have. We'll use the Jobs button for searching for jobs, viewing jobs we've applied for, or managing our job alerts. The Messaging button for viewing and composing messages. And then the Notifications button to view recent updates and information, including reviewing how others have interacted with your posts and updates. You'll receive notifications for things like new connections or when someone endorses you for a skill. And you can see my notifications here has a little 5. That just tells me there are 5 notifications since the last time I checked this. I can click on it and see the different information that has posted. And finally, you have the Profile button, which will link directly to your profile, your settings, and your privacy information. The majority of the page then is your news feed, and this is where you can share articles, information, and updates with your professional network. Now remember, LinkedIn is a professional site, so you might want to post things like new skills that you've acquired, jobs that you've taken, or professional development opportunities, or even highlight a project that you've been part of. Other LinkedIn users can then respond, comment, and share the posts that you create. And in your newsfeed, you'll also see content from others in your network, and you can comment, respond, and share those to your own network. So you can see as I scroll through here, I can see different things that people have posted. I also see some promoted content, so basically ads. Things that other people in my network have responded to. And much like Facebook or other social networking sites, I've got that like, comment, share, and send at the bottom of each of those posts to be able to interact with it. Now, here are a few things to keep in mind as you interact with this type of content. As a rule of thumb, you'll want to share content that you find interesting and that aligns with your personal brand, goals, and ideals. This is another way that you're building your brand on LinkedIn in addition to the content that you're posting within your actual profile. You're also going to look for opportunities to add value for other LinkedIn users. So think about, what can I share that will have value to my colleagues? And finally, be aware of what you're sharing with your comments. This is a great way to establish your point of view and have thoughtful conversations with other LinkedIn users, which can help raise your online presence. But be mindful that it's content you want associated with your professional brand. So in addition to all of the content that I see from other users, I do have the option to create and post my own content. And I can do that from the very top of my newsfeed, where you see this box that says start a post. And I can click in that box to start typing, to share brief information. I also have the option through these little icons at the bottom to add a photo, to include a video, to attach a document, share a job from my company, and things like that. I can also create events or polls that others can interact with. If I wanted to do a longer piece, I could choose write article. And when I click on that, it gives me some additional formatting options. So I can do bold, italics, I can change my font size, I can add quotes and headlines, and that makes your longer content stand out a little bit more. Now, as you think about content that you might want to share, think about what's most engaging to your network. Are there particular subjects where you see a lot of interest, something that you do that other people really want to know about? Would you like to expand on something that you've commented on, maybe in a longer way? Again, this is an opportunity for you to build your personal brand and also showcase your communication skills. So be mindful of how you respond to any comments that you receive on your original content as well. Now, before we move on, do we have any questions about our news feed? There are no questions in the chat at this time. All right, let's move on to talking about our specific profile information. Now, on the left-hand side of my screen, I do have a quick link to my profile. You're going to look for your profile picture, if you have one, to easily find it. And this is where you can easily link to your profile, but you can also see things like how many profile views you have, or how many people have interacted with your recent content. To get to your profile, you can either click on your picture or your name, and that will open up your profile page. So now we're going to spend some time talking about the content that actually makes up your profile. There are lots of different ways that you can customize your content and how it appears, but for today's class, I'll just be using my profile as an example. And since we have limited time, we'll just cover some of the main sections. For more in-depth instruction, you can always check out one of the tutorials available through LinkedIn Learning or set up a book a librarian appointment for one-on-one personalized assistance. Your profile is essentially your online resume. And so this is what people see when they interact with you. The more information that you include, the easier you are to find. And as you build your profile, you'll want to start by thinking about your goals. This will help you decide what to include, what to leave out, and how you structure your information. So let's start here at the very top. Here you have an option to include a profile picture and a cover photo, and I can easily change those by clicking on that little pencil icon to edit. I can do change photo, I can delete the photo. Same thing with my profile picture. I can edit, I can put a profile picture frame on it. Now, here's a few things to keep in mind as you do that. If you do include a picture, you want to make sure that picture is one of yourself that's recent and looks like you. And as an ideal, your face would be 60% or more of that picture. You want to stand out as the person in the photo, not your background. Keep in mind, photos should project a professional image because, again, this is part of your personal brand that you're showcasing to potential employers. And if you'd like, you can include a background image that is professional, but also helps contribute to your overall brand. This top section is also where you can choose some basic information about your profile. Once again, I can use that little pencil icon to click on it and edit that information. This is where you would put in your name, if you wanted to include a pronunciation of your name, your pronouns, a headline, choose whether or not you want to display your current position, your education information, your country and region, industry, and just basic information like that. Now, while many people use their current job title as their headline, which is what mine is set as, you can also use this as a way to customize your personal brand. For more ideas, you can look at profiles for others who have the job you currently have or the job that you would like to have and see what headlines they use. Right underneath that introductory information, you have your About section. And this is where you can include a brief summary of who you are and what you do. You might think of this as similar to an objective statement on a resume. And as you draft this section, think about ways to bring your skills to life. How does the work that you do make a difference? What makes you stand out at your job? This summary is the cornerstone of that personal brand that you're going to flesh out with the rest of your profile. Another good idea is to use keywords that highlight your skills and experience, but avoid buzzwords that are overdone. And keep in mind, everything on your LinkedIn profile is searchable. So if you're including those keywords in that About section, that's one more opportunity for you to stand out in a search. You also have what's called the featured section, and this is where you can highlight particular content that you want others to see. This can be posts, articles, links, or even media files. If you have existing content, you would click on the pencil icon to edit your choices, move them around, reorder them, delete them, remove them from your featured. Or if you wanted to add something, you would just click on the plus sign to add new content. And you could choose from posts or articles that you have. You could put in a link to something or even upload your own media as well. And you can think of this kind of as a mini portfolio of content that shows work samples and other options. And we'll talk a little bit later on about how to include those samples as part of your job experience as well. Now, you might have noticed when I was scrolling that we also have this blue dashboard near the top of our profile that gives some additional insights about how others are interacting with our profile and content. You'll also note that it says under here, private to you, which means that other LinkedIn users can't see this content. It's really just information that helps you know how your profile is doing. You can see your profile views, your post views, and search appearances to give you an idea of how frequently people interact with your profile and content. Underneath that, we also have our activity section, and this shows posts that we've created, shared, or commented on in the past 90 days. Now you'll see that I don't have anything from the past 90 days, so this box is empty for me, but if I wanted to see more, I would just click on see all activity, and I could see everything that I have responded to, and I can filter by articles, posts, documents, etc. A similar version of this content does appear on your public profile, which lets other people know what content you're interacting with and how you're engaging with other LinkedIn users. Now, do we have any questions before we move into the sections of your profile?
We do. We actually have a question in the chat in regards to when you were talking about creating your own post. They noticed that there was the option to add a hashtag to your posts. Could you take a moment to explain hashtags and how to use them on LinkedIn?
Absolutely. So hashtags on LinkedIn are similar to hashtags on any other social media site. They're an option for you to highlight your content or for people to easily find similar things. And I'm going to go back to my homepage for just a minute and choose this hashtag that LinkedIn recommended for me. And this hashtag here is just showing me all content that's related to that particular topic. So if you're doing current events or a particular topic of interest, that will help you find content or align your content with that. I can also do it for something as generic as, say, leadership, a topic that I'm interested in because I want to stand out as a leader. I can find other posts where people have marked it as being about leadership. This might help me find things that are interesting to me and easily filter that content. So it's just another way to make your content stand out and help you connect with people with a similar mindset or interests.
Perfect. Thank you, Jamie. And there are no other questions at this time.
All right, I'm going to pop back over to my profile and we're going to take a look at some of the additional profile sections. So once we've gotten through all of our introductory information, we get into what is the meat of our profile. And LinkedIn will determine the order that some of this information appears. But there are four main categories of information that you'll see here. You've got your background information, which will include things like your work experience, education, licenses, and professional certifications, and volunteer experience. You have your skills, which will include any special skills that you highlight, including both technical and soft skills. You have your accomplishments, which will include things like publications, courses, projects, honors and awards, languages spoken, organizations that you're part of, and other similar content. And then finally, your additional information, which will include recommendations received from other LinkedIn users. Let's look at some of these sections in a little more detail. So starting with our background information, the most important thing we're going to have there is our experience. And this is where we will list our current and past jobs. These will always appear with the most recent position showing first. Each entry can include your job title, the type of employment, your company, location, dates, and a description of the work you did. And you can also choose to link or upload media like work samples. So we have two options within this section. I can use the plus sign if I need to add a new entry, and that's going to pull up my box with some information. A few things you'll see are required. We do have to put some kind of job title. We do have to put a company name of some kind, and we do need to put some kind of date range for it. A lot of other information, like including the description or adding the media, is optional, so you can choose to include it or not. If I have an entry that I need to make changes to, I would click on the pencil next to that entry instead, and that will pull up what I already have and let me make those edits. Once I've made the necessary changes, I could just click save to apply them. Now, a few things about those experience entries. You may notice that here with the City of Plano, I've got the City of Plano logo showing. If applicable, LinkedIn will automatically add the logo for your organization. If you don't see a logo displayed, make sure that you're using the professional name of your organization as it appears on LinkedIn. For example, if I were to change this from City of Plano to Plano Public Library, I wouldn't have a logo associated with it because LinkedIn doesn't recognize Plano Public Library as an employer. Now, unlike a paper resume, you don't have to worry about what experience to include because you aren't necessarily tailoring this content to a particular job. However, if you are actively looking for a job, you do want to make sure that the information that you're including is current. You want to highlight your current projects, the information that's going to make you stand out. Just like your paper resume, it will also make sense to have entries that include specific measurable information with action words and keywords to help your profile stand out. You're really helping people understand what you do and why you're good at it. And just as a suggestion for writing an entry, you might try by writing a short 2 to 3 sentence summary of the job to get started, and then include 3 to 5 key achievements or accomplishments from that position. In addition to your work experience, you can also choose to include your volunteer experience, which will show in a separate section of your profile. The more information you provide, the more likely you are to make connections with other users. You'll have more in common with them and be more likely to stand out in searches. Now, underneath my experience is where I have my education. And this is where you would list any degrees that you may have. This is one area where you can put entries in any order, but only one can be featured in your intro information. Each of these entries can include the school you attended, the degree, your field of study, the dates that you attended, your activities and societies, and a basic description. Like your work experience, you can also link or upload media here as well. And just like before, to add a new entry, I would click on the plus sign icon, which will open up that box with the information I need to put in. Or to edit an existing entry, I would just click on the pencil icon to edit what I already have. Now, because I can reorder this information, you'll also see I've got these 3 lines, and that activates the drag and drop that I can move information into a different order in this section if I want to. And just like with our experience, if you put in the recognized university name, you should have that logo display automatically for you as well. You also have the option to add licenses and certifications as their own entries, which will display from newest to oldest. And this might include things like professional licenses or continuing education information that you have. Here on my profile, I've just listed some certifications that I've done through LinkedIn Learning as an example. And underneath that is where we get into our skills and endorsements. LinkedIn will allow you to list up to 50 skills or specialties on your profile. These can be a combination of soft skills like communication or technical skills like proficiency in Microsoft Word. And it's one way to show an employer what you're knowledgeable about. You can add in your own skills by choosing add a new skill. I'm going to delete a skill off of my profile for a second, just so I can show you what that looks like. We'll just take one of these off. If you've reached your maximum, you will not be able to add another skill. So I would click the plus sign here for add another skill. I could start typing and I could choose from one of these options, or if I didn't see something that I liked, if I just keep typing, I could put in a completely imaginary skill of nothing and hit save. And LinkedIn will still save that for me as well. If I need to change that information, I can just click on that, scroll through, I can reorder, I can delete, and otherwise arrange that information. You also have the option to take a skills quiz to demonstrate competence in a particular area. So I would click on Take Skill Quiz. And it will give me some recommended quizzes. I can do industry knowledge, tools and technology, or I can search for content. Once I've found something that I think is a good idea, I would just click on that. And I have the option to either do a practice to try out some of those questions and see if I really have the skills that I think I do, or I can go ahead and hit start to take that quiz. Keep in mind, there will be some requirements as far as how many times you can retake an assessment and how much time you may have to complete each question. So you'll want to be aware of those before you go ahead and start that assessment. And once you've completed that, you can choose to display your results or not to your profile. Your connections can also endorse you for your skills. As you'll see on my profile here, I have a generic skill of library, and I have people who have said, yes, I know about libraries. That's a skill that I have. You can also do the same for them as well. LinkedIn is all about making connections. So reach out to people whose endorsement you'd value and be willing to reciprocate when others ask you for your endorsement. If you feel like your endorsements are biasing your profile towards the wrong skills, you can also edit that information as well. So like I said before, we click on the pencil icon and we can rearrange our top skills. We can click that little push pin to make something a top skill. We can drag and drop with those 3 lines to reorganize information, and I can turn endorsements on or off for a skill there as well. We also have our recommendations, which is a more personal way for you to share your skills. Your professional colleagues can write recommendations for you voluntarily, or you can ask them directly for recommendations. If you are asking for recommendations, think about who you would value having that personalized response from, and do personalize the response before you send it to them. And you would just click ask a recommendation and walk through the wizard to do that. And then finally, let's take a look at our accomplishments. And in this section, you can choose to include things like publications, honors and awards, projects, and organizations that you have been or are currently part of. And these are just a few different things that I've included in my profile. I have some courses from when I was in school. I have some publications that I've been part of, some projects and work samples, and professional organizations. I can expand any one of these sections by clicking on the arrow, and that drops down so that I can see more information. Each section will have its own rules for ordering and displaying information, and for things like projects, you can also associate your work with a specific position so that it links there as well. Do we have any questions about the sections of your profile?
There are no questions in the chat at this time.
Before we move on to the additional feature or the additional sections of LinkedIn, I do want to talk about a couple of additional features from your profile that may be helpful. The first one is editing how your profile appears to the public. So in the top right corner, when you're up at the very top of your profile, you should see an option for edit public profile and URL. And if you click on that, this is where you edit how your profile appears to the public. So you can create a custom URL that makes it really easy to remember your LinkedIn profile, especially if you're going to add it onto job applications or include it on your resume. You'll find a lot of people do things like put their name as the end of that URL. There are some rules as far as how many characters you can include, and you can't use spaces, symbols, or special characters, but you can do a lot of customizing that way. You can also edit the visibility of your profile through this menu as well. And you may want to have some information available for anyone to see, but other information available only for those you've connected with. And I can do this by turning information on and off with these little sliders. And as I make the changes, you can see the changes apply in your preview as well. So if you don't like the change that you've made, you can just undo it and make those changes. So for my profile, I've chosen to include the big picture experience, but the details are turned off unless you're connected with me. And this just helps keep my profile a little bit neater if someone is just scrolling through and glancing at the content. Close back out of that window. We'll come back over here. You can also use your profile to create a resume, which we'll talk about more in the second course of this series. And you would do that by clicking on more and then going to build a resume to go through that resume builder. These resumes are created based on your profile and can be saved for future use. However, they aren't visible to other LinkedIn users. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about some of the other sections in LinkedIn that we can work with, starting with our network. So from my profile, I can just click on the My Network button to bring up that network. Because once you've built your profile, the next step is building that network of professional connections. And this tab is where you can easily see and manage your network. So let's start by looking at some of the basic features. Your LinkedIn contacts are like a digital address book. So in the left-hand corner of your screen, you can see some basic information, including how many connections you have, people that you're following, groups that you're part of, pages that you're interested in. And then at the top of the page, you would see any pending invitations or people who've invited you to connect. I don't have any on my profile today that I can show you, but if I did, it would pop up with their profile and give me the option to accept or decline that connection. Now, when I click on connections, it will show me a complete list of my professional connections, and I can sort them by first name, last name, or recently added. I can also search them in that search box if I'm trying to find someone specifically, and I can apply filters if needed. Within that connections page, it's really easy for me to interact directly with other LinkedIn users. I can access their profile by just clicking on their picture or their name. I can send them a message by clicking on message, or if I use those three dots, I can remove a connection if necessary as well. You have a couple of different options for adding people to your network. So you could try searching for someone by name in that search box, or you could add from your email contacts as well. You will also see people you may know based on your jobs that you have listed, your experience, your interests, your education, and those will pop up in the LinkedIn recommendations as well. Now, when you have searched for a name and you found someone that you think you want to connect with, you'll have a couple of options. You should be able to click on that blue connect button to connect with someone. And you can add a note or just send that invitation. So if I were to hit connect, I could choose add a note to make my request more personal, or I could choose to just send it as it is. Now, for people that you're less connected to, or say you don't have anything in common with, you may have to navigate directly to their profile to be able to connect with them. For instance, looks like everyone on here is giving me that connect option. This search result here gives me the option to message, but doesn't give me that option to connect right away. So I would have to go through the profile to access more connection options. Now, if you are personalizing your request to connect, here are a few things to keep in mind. Add a nice greeting or introduction, and if you know the person, remind them of your relationship. If you don't know them and you're just trying to make more connections, provide some context about why you'd like to connect with them. You can also include a reference to something personal about them or their business so they know your request is intentional and you're not just hitting connect to see how many people that you can put into your network. Now, as you search for connections, you're also going to see a degree of connection by each name. If it had a first degree next to the person's name, that's somebody that you're already connected with. If it says second degree, it's someone that you are connected to in some way. So they're connected to someone else that you know. They might be a connection with a professional colleague. They might be a part of the same university, things like that. And it will generally tell you where you have that connection in common. If you have third or third plus connections, they're even further out and you don't have any existing overlap. And this is where you'll most likely see sending a message to be able to connect with them. Back on your My Network page with those recommendations that LinkedIn provides you. If you wanted to know more about them, you could click on any of those pictures to connect to their profile, or you could just go ahead and click connect if you knew them and wanted to connect. Now, you will always have the option to ignore an invitation from someone, and you can do this if you don't know them or you just don't want to connect with them. Don't worry about doing this. The other person will never receive a message that you've ignored their connection request. You can also choose to reply without connecting if you'd like to get more information about that person first. In addition to those personal connections, you can also join groups. So if I click on that groups page, this will show you some groups that I am part of. And groups are a way that you can connect with users of similar interests. Some groups are open to all, and some you will need to request to join. And those are spaces where professionals in the same industry or individuals with similar interests can connect and share. So for example, the Texas Library Association has a group that I'm a part of, so I can see other librarians and library staff in Texas. And once you have clicked into that group, you'll see something very similar to your newsfeed, but with content specific to that group. And here you'll be able to learn more about the group. You can see whatever about information they have put together. You can see people who are members, or you can invite people that you know to connect with that group. You can post your own content just like you can with your newsfeed, or you can comment and react to the content that has been shared by the group as well. Are there any questions about building your network?
We have no questions at this time.
All right, let's move on to the next tab, our messaging tab. And messaging in LinkedIn is going to work like most email programs or other apps like Facebook. The messaging tab will show you your messages along the left side with a small preview and the text of the message that you have selected in this main window. You may also notice that in the bottom right corner of your screen, there's a little messaging box, and you can choose to expand that to access your messages at any time as well. If you wanted to compose a message, you would just click on this little pencil on top of a piece of paper, and that would start your new message window. You type in the name of your recipient, your message, And you also have the option to add images, attachments, and links to other media as needed. And once you've composed everything, you would just click send to send that message on its way. Within your individual messages, if you click on one of them, you can look and see when it was sent, any additional content. You can reply, which as you're replying, many times LinkedIn will give you the option to add a standard reply, or you can choose to always type your own response in as well. And then you can manage messages by doing things like archiving them to clear out your inbox as well. As you network, you may receive messages from people that you don't know, or you may choose to reach out to someone who you're not well acquainted with. Messaging lets you share more information and form a personal connection with other users. And finally, we're going to look very briefly at the Jobs tab, which we will cover in more detail in the third class in this series. When I click on jobs, this is where I can easily search for a job by title, skill, or company. So let's say I want to search for just a librarian job. I can type that into my search. And I can do things like apply filters. I could say, you know what, I want to search for jobs in Texas and refine that search a little bit more. And you can apply those filters by city, state, or zip code as you're searching. If you have too many results, right now I have 1,227 results and I don't really want to scroll through all of them. I can use some filters to help manage that search as well. I can sort by the date posted. So I only want jobs posted in the past month. And that takes out some of my results. You can sort by your experience level. So if you're specifically looking for an entry-level position, you can choose that and easily filter those results. And if you know that you want to work for a particular company, you can even filter by the company, the job type, if they're on site or remote work, or even if they have easy apply options. Now, if you see a job that you like, you can click on it for some additional information, and you'll see whatever information that the poster has provided, generally a generic description of the position. You may see a little bit about the company itself and your relationship to anyone who has applied. Right now, you can see this particular position has 3 applicants so far. So it gives me an idea of how competitive that job has been as well. And I can either apply for the job or I can save it for later. Now, you might want to follow companies that interest you as well, which will let you see their updates regularly in your news feed. So if I see a company that I like from my jobs tab, I can actually click on that and pull up that company's website. And I can click follow to easily add them to my newsfeed, or I could click visit website to go and view the website and learn more about the company as well. And then within their company pages, I can see jobs that they have, or even people who are part of that organization, which may give me an idea of people that I can connect with or send a message to as part of my job search as well. Are there any questions about searching for jobs?
We do not have any questions in the chat.
All right, I am going to pop back over to our slideshow so that we can share some final information as part of today's class. This does conclude the basic information that we're covering on LinkedIn today, but before we go, I'd like to share just a few more library resources with you. If you have a short question that you'd like library staff to answer, you may submit it online at any time using our Ask a Librarian service. A librarian will usually respond within 48 hours with the information that you might need. Now, if you would like some additional one-on-one help from one of our librarians, about 30 minutes, and the chance to go over your specific questions, you can also complete a Book a Librarian appointment request. Each of those sessions is tailored to your specific needs and is compatible with your schedule. You can also explore our blog, Plano Library Learns, to see book lists, program recordings, and other useful information. And you can explore more business and career resources from the associated tab on the blog as well. You can also view past programs on our YouTube channel at any time. As a friendly reminder, you will receive a link to the recording from today's class in a few days, and you can access our course handouts via the Google Drive at any time. And before we wrap up today, I would like to remind you of the upcoming classes as part of this series. Next Wednesday, the 13th at 1 p.m., we will be covering the LinkedIn Resume Builder. So we'll take the information that we built into that profile and talk about how to create and save custom resumes and tailor those to your job search. On October 20th, we will be covering LinkedIn job searching, where we'll get into more detail about the tips and tricks to maximize your job search on LinkedIn, including how to make your profile stand out and how to find jobs that are particularly relevant to you. And then our final class in this series on October 27th, we'll cover LinkedIn Learning and how to navigate the content, explore learning paths, and even share your skills as part of your LinkedIn profile. If you are interested in attending any of those programs, please do keep in mind they each have a separate registration. So you'll want to pop over to our website or online program calendar and register for those sessions as well. Do we have any final questions before we wrap up today?
Our chat looks clear.
All right. Well, once again, thank you for attending today's class, and we do look forward to seeing you for the next class in this series, our LinkedIn Resume Builder, next Wednesday at 1 p.m. As you leave the class today, please do take a moment to complete our program survey, which should pop up when you exit the program. We do value your feedback, and we use that to help determine the focus of our next classes and how we can improve our existing content. Thanks again for joining us today, and have a great afternoon.